It's just so hard, you know. When I grew up in the United States, you know, every time I turned on the TV and I watched films, anytime I ever saw an Asian American, even today, on TV or film, they're always there for an Asian reason. And it's funny, you sit in this room and like, you know, I think everyone here, we're just hanging out, we're just students, we're just hanging out, we're just all American and stuff like that. But every time you watch TV, it's always because, you know, it's the Chinatown episode, or like Jet Li just broke out of a maximum security prison and has to visit his like extended family in America, you know, so it's, you know, Vietnamese half-brother, Korean brother-in-law, that kind of thing, you know. And it was a really struggle for me growing up because, you know, I grew up really, you know, I'm not going to say the word lost, but there wasn't really any role models, you know. And I think every time, I remember the first time I saw Bruce Lee on TV, I was stunned. I was just like, oh my God. It's like, for the first time in my life, I actually saw a dude that was like kick-ass, you know, really something that I could be proud of. And, you know, then you flash forward 30-some odd years, and, you know, you decide to go into the business as an actor. And there's a big challenge that kind of lays out in front of you because, like, when we first start acting, you know, I think Sung and I have been acting about the same exact period of time. You know, you have ambitions to do stuff like Matt Damon or Ben Affleck or stuff that Tom Cruise does, but you find really quickly that Hollywood has a very, very different agenda for a guy or a girl with an Asian face. And so it's very funny working in Hollywood because I'm an all-American guy, but the thing is, the second I walk into a Hollywood studio, they want me to be something I am completely not. You know, and it really revolves on the same thing that Dustin talks about. Either they want you to be a kung fu master, or they want you to be like William Hung Part 2, or they want you to be a foreigner of some sort, you know? And after a while, 4 to 5 to 6, 7 years of doing that kind of work, you start to lose hope. And you sit here and you're like, my God, you know, I grew up in America and I watched all these amazing films and I was inspired by them when I watched Harrison Ford, or when I watched, you know, like, you know, and all sorts of just American films. I could totally relate to the Caucasian and the African American faces on there. But every time I like turn on the TV and just watch a film, I don't relate to the Asian Americans on screen ever. And so I think the biggest problem is that there's so little product coming out of Hollywood that has Asian American faces. It's just normal, everyday people, that when it comes out, we want it so bad to mean everything to us. But the problem is there's so little out there that it can't mean everything to everyone. I mean, I can only speak to like my relationship with Justin and everyone up here is, if you guys, those of you who've seen Better Luck Tomorrow, 4 of the 5 guys were actually, we all quit acting. Not because we didn't love it, not because we didn't feel like we're good enough, we just didn't feel like there was any opportunity. Because, you know, after you play watching number 32, cook number 9, you know, waiter who's killed by watching number 32, you do that like enough times, you're going to lose hope. And I remember when I first met Justin, you know, he was offered several $1 million, $2 million to do Better Luck Tomorrow with only one catch. We will give you $2 million if you do it to cast it anything but Asian American. And they actually had Macaulay Culkin lined up and said, cast it white, cast it black, cast it Latino, just do not cast it Asian American, because Asian Americans aren't perceived as economically viable. And I think the cool thing about Justin is that he just didn't really think twice. He just got up and he said, you know, if I'm going to make the last film, one film of my life, I'm going to go down. I want to make sure that it's the film I want to make. So the guy actually walked away from $2 million. I mean, that guy could have bought a Bentley. He could have bought, like, you know what I'm saying? I like Bentleys. Anyways, and you know, he basically took 10 credit cards out and put himself into like 6-figure debt. And then, you know, because of Better Luck Tomorrow and did so well at Sundance, you know, he went on and get an opportunity to do really big studio movies. And most of the people I know that have that opportunity basically just leave the community. I mean, I don't want to start talking about previous people within the community going to Hollywood, but no one really brings sort of the family along. And I remember when they were casting for Annapolis, you know, I mean, Justin went out of his way to bring people from Better Luck Tomorrow, and he actually cast me in a role where there was no way on earth Hollywood was going to put Roger Fan in a film opposite Tyrese and James Franco. There's no way. But the guy fought for me, and I remember when Justin told me, he was just like, hey, so I went into Disney today, and I fought for you, and I got you the role. And I was like, dude, what was it like? He goes, well, I went in, and there was like all these suits, and they go, I want Roger Fan for the role of Forrester. And I was like, what happened? It was quiet for like 5 minutes. And then, you know, it was very interesting. Then we were in London doing reshoots for Annapolis, And then I remember Justin got a phone call from the head of Universal Studios. This is the head of Universal Studios. It's like getting a call from God. And she outrightly said, Justin, I want you to direct Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, $100 million. Justin picked up the phone, he was like, thank you very much, but no, hung up. And then she called back again. Justin picked up the phone, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, hung up. This is the third time, this is like one of the most powerful people in Hollywood basically offering you a $100 million movie. And finally she goes, why will you not direct this? And he said, well, I looked at the script and it's the most offensive thing I've ever seen, and I don't want to make a drifting version of The Last Samurai. That's basically what the movie was, you know? It's like the Caucasian guy goes to Japan, takes the shit out of every Japanese person in the country, and then takes the Japanese hottie and they ride off into the sunset. You know? And he said that to her. And I was like, damn, dude, that's like, you know. So we hang up the phone, and finally she calls back again. She goes, what do you want? And Justin goes, I want a page 1 rewrite. I want to be able to rewrite this with what I see in the mind, and on top of that, I also want to bring in my people. And originally they were not going to cast any Asian Americans in Fast and Furious. But at the end of the day, 90% of the cast actually came from LA and was all Asian American. And so, you know, we're all taking these baby steps, you know, and they're now finishing the game come up. And they were, you know, Hollywood was offering Justin $12 million to make finishing the game, as long as it was like Kung Fu Hustle or Shaolin Soccer. And Justin again said, you know what? This is not the movie I want to make. And so he actually walked away, and I saw him cut several very large checks, maybe 4 Bentleys worth of checks, the money he made from Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, and he put it into finishing the game. So, you know, I just want to, you know, that's kind of the behind the scenes, sort of the struggle that we've been going through, you know, to try to like make these movies and to try to get to where we want to go. So, you know, at the end of the day, we hope that 5-10 years from now, there's 50 Asian American type themed films coming out every year, so that it means something to everyone, you know, as opposed to one coming out every 7 years, and it just doesn't meet the expectations of everyone out there, you know. It's definitely a struggle.
This might sound a little bit off topic. How do you feel about the media's portrayal of the Virginia Tech massacre?
The media's portrayal of Virginia Tech massacre.
Yeah.
It was pretty bullshit, actually. You know, I think that a lot of times, and it, you know, it goes both ways. You know, first of all, you know, when that happened, and you know, I'm sure we all went through it. You hear this horrific event happen, and they say the name, and you're like, ah, fuck. It's Asian American, right? And then what do? They start painting him as like some immigrant, you know, and I'm like, he moved here, he was 8, just like me, you know. He's American, you know, stop making him feel like, you know, so I have issues with that. But you know what I have issues with more? Was that within 24 hours, anytime this happens, somehow these people who represent us, the leaders of our community, they go up there and they said, hey, you know, just want to let you know, that person doesn't represent our community. We don't condone these actions. Like, no shit, we don't condone these actions. The guy is definitely not right, you know? I mean, so let's deal with it the way, but they always pick on that. As soon as they see the Asian face, then they start playing off with stereotypes and stuff like that. And that's the same thing with the Sunny Hills honorable murder. That's the thing that drives me nuts as an Asian American every time. But why do we have to always apologize and say that we don't condone stupid acts of violence? Of course we don't do that. So I think it goes both ways. Like, the media needs to be educated. We need to go there and have that dialogue with them. But at the same time, we need to grow some balls. And whoever the fuck is representing our community, shut the fuck up, man.